All right. Let's get this party started. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Alan, and thank you for having me at this event. And for this afternoon, I'm gonna talk about robotic process automation, what it's about, how is it affecting our lives, how it's being used, and how you could possibly benefit from process automation. So to begin with, let's start off with something that is very familiar if you were born in the 80s or 70s. Yeah, like me, I'm sure you've seen this game. It's a very popular game, and despite spending hundreds and thousands of hours playing this game, at some point, you'll always die. You'll always fall in the cliff or get eaten by the monkey or whatever. Um, you know why? Because as they say, we're only human, right? Tao lang, laging namamali. When you forget to press something, you always make a mistake, and then you you die, right? Now, the reason I'm bringing this up is that the trend in terms of technology is that computers actually are now able to play games like this on their own. The state of technology in terms of artificial intelligence have already progressed such that they can already finish the game of Mario without any teaching, without nobody's teaching them, without any rules. It just learns on its own. So how it learns is that it's kind of slow at the start. It does a lot of stupid things, fall down the cliff, and go back in the screen or things like that. But it eventually it learns. So what we've learned is that using neural network, we're actually able for to have the computer learn the game, and eventually, after hundreds of hours playing the game, it will be able to finish one level. Yeah. What's the difference between a human playing this game? Well, a human will be able to play this game instantly, right? When you get your keypad, first thing you know, you jump across back and forth, and then you'll already be able to play a game. Maybe in less than 30 seconds, you already finish level one. Or maybe 3 minutes, you're able to finish level one. For the computer, it will take like several hours and do a lot of stupid trial and error and still not able to finish a game. It takes a long time for it to be able to finish a game. But once it finishes the game, it never makes the mistake anymore. It's already perfected the game. But we, as human, even after hundreds of hours, you still die at some point because you always get certain mistakes. So that's the capability of AI. If we're gonna compare humans with AI, this would be a very good example. So that's how like the artificial intelligence is actually processing this game. It combines different neurons and come up with steps so that it actually be able to learn and finish the game. In addition to that, there's also advancement in term. This has been we've seen this a long time ago when Deep Blue, IDM Deep Blue, is able to play the game of chess and defeated, the world grandmaster Gary Kasparov, and which actually proved that computers can think in a very better than human in a very specific manner. No, in this case, it's playing the computer game. So with that, we're seeing progress in terms of AI, in terms of AI, and how this actually has been improving in the last several years. Now, the state of improvement of AI for the last, I'd say, maybe 6 7 years has been exponential. Now we're seeing a lot and more applications that is using artificial intelligence. And but one thing that we should be able to observe, from the game of chess, right? What happened was that because eventually we've learned to accept that computers can perform algorithms playing chess better than human, what they ended up with is actually what we call playing a game of chess, what they call as centaurs, where human and computer play alongside against another human with a computer, right? So they use different computers with different algorithms, and at the end of the day, it's the human that makes a decision. No? So that's a typical example of what we call as an augmented workforce, where people are able to take advantage of technology and be able to perform better, right? So if actually look at the chess, right? No, we know the computer can play better chess, but that doesn't mean that we're not gonna play chess anymore, right? I mean, we can use chess and play it alongside with us. So same goes with in our workforce, right? If a certain machine can do function better, it doesn't necessarily mean that we will be obsolete. There will still be functions where they'll be needing us, but we need to be able to take advantage of all this technology so that uh, we can improve our productivity also. We'll be able to improve how we work. So now there are a lot of enabling conditions in terms of AI that has actually brought us to where we are now. There's big data, there's AI, and then there's robotic process automation. So briefly, big data talks about all the information on the internet, how big the information in the internet, how many terabytes or how all this information, right? The videos on YouTube, everything that's Google is searching, all the books that are now electronic. By collecting all this information and using artificial intelligence, we're able to extract more information about humans. And with process automation, we'll then be able to automate all the learnings and the processes that we're actually doing. So the aggregation of all this information has brought us to a stage now where RPA is, I'd say, prime, for the industry. That's why we're hearing a lot and a lot more people talking about robotic process automation. So, and briefly, just so you get the proper context of where RPA comes in, is that if we compare computers and human, there are still advantages and disadvantages. No, we cannot say that computers will be is the supremacy and humans will be slaves by machines. No, it's not. There are a lot of criteria also, or advantages to how a human brain works, right? Intuition, emotion, empathy, right? So these are characteristics of human that computers cannot simulate, at least not yet. No, but computers have advantages also. For example, storage, computation, visualization. No? So classic example, storage. It's I have this tendency to always forget birthdays, right? So of course, mapapaaway tayo if you forget the birthday of your special loved ones. So what do? You store their birthdays on your phone, right? So that which is a machine. So your phone will not forget, right? In terms of computation, right? So what's the square root of 365? I have no idea. But, computers can easily compute that. So there are pros and cons between humans and machines. So that's just one point that we have to understand so that we know how to be able to take advantage of RPA. So moving on, so what is RPA? After giving you the context about AI, machines, human brains, let's talk about my topic for today, right? RPA. So RPA is a software that automates repetitive and rules-based manual process. So this is very common in a lot of, especially in large companies or in banks where there are a lot of repetitive work, or possibly in government offices. RPA is a tool that will automate all this work so that people will be able to do other things rather than just doing this repetitive type of work. It improves productivity, saves cost and time, and then also improve quality. So here's a typical example of a use case of where RPA is being used. For example, you're reading email and there's an attachment in the email. You download the attachment and then you upload the content of the attachment to your ERP, right? So you can use RPA to actually automate, check the email, download, see the attachment, upload to an ERP. If there are certain rules that are not met, while uploading that, it can be escalated, and we'll have a human process it manually, right? So most likely about 80% of the time, the machines will be able to automate this. Now then for the 20%, that's where the human actually come in and do their thing, do the manual analysis. There are different levels of maturity of RPA. The very basic is at level one, which is basically rules based. So this is, you know, like what I mentioned earlier, receive the file, download, extract, upload. It's rules based. It's a sequence of activity that it performs automatically. On a second level would be a bit more enhanced and mature, which is what they call as enhanced process automation, where it can actually learn. No? So what you can do is, for example, you do your steps, and then after several tries, it can do it for you on your behalf. So it can learn data from unstructured data, right, and extract information from there. It can do pattern recognition or possibly natural language processing. And the more advanced, which is more on a research phase, is um, really using full benefits of AI, right? So it will be able to understand the process or even do predictive analysis, right? What's gonna happen or how much will be your sales tomorrow, and based on certain data, so that it will be able to foresee, what it's supposed to do. Right now, a lot of the projects that we have are more on the level one, a couple on the level two because of the natural language processing. I'll explain a bit more in a while. But that's, the total spectrum of process automation. Okay, and the benefits of RPA are actually real. No, it's not kwento-kwento lang. You see, one of our clients here, IQVIA, they actually save more than 60 million pesos already from automation. They have a big um, BPO operations here in the country, and we're automating processes for them. Same with other large companies like ANZ, Dell, Walgreens. They've been investing a lot on process automation so that they can save more from automation. But RPA is not only about cost savings also. It can also perform things a lot faster. It can also improve the quality. So that's one of the advantages of using RPA. And some of the common features when you're looking for RPA tools, there's what they call as assisted and unassisted. Meaning assisted is you'll have a human manually triggering when to start the automation. Unassisted is it will automatically perform. Once you get the email, it will perform it automatically. Right? There's record and play. So that's the easiest way to automate. Click record, do your thing, and then it will record whatever you're doing. And then when you're done, you just play it. It will replicate everything you did in the computer. There's workflow builder, there's command center, which is these are a lot more designed for enterprise, where you have thousands of employees and you want to control what the tool is doing. So here's one example of automation we've done. It's called coding and bridging. This is very popular in the medical, in mga data encoding companies, where they have to get different types of data. So, for example, they're translating prescriptions or receipts from drugstores and translating that to universal data, right? So it's called coding and bridging. And traditionally, they will hire pharmacists and professionals to actually do the translation because some are scientific, their scientific name. So one example would be, for example, biogesic can be called BGSC in one system. It can be biogesic. It can be other things, but it refers to the same type of medicine. So usually you'll have human doing that, but with machine learning, with RPA, you can have the machine automatically translate all this data for you. So you have the machine learn. So if you look at the process, there's data, and then there's a machine learning entity here in the middle. And if there's certain data it doesn't understand, it asks the human answers. After a while, it will learn and it will be able to map those data properly into a unified database. So in our case, we've when we implemented this, we save about more than 80% of the work, no, being translated by machines, and accuracy is even higher. Secondly, would refer to use cases where you actually have to gather data across different sources. So maybe popular for banks, like when they do credit checks, you'd like to check information about certain person from different systems, and then you aggregate them together, yeah, from email, Excel. So RPA can also be used that. So if you look at down there, it's from 1,100 hours down to 89 hours. No? So still, if you'll notice, the RPA doesn't remove the human. There will always be things for the human to do, but it eliminates a lot of the manual work. And this in is for billing and invoicing. So, for example, you're gathering reports from a machine, and then you want to generate a report out of that. No? So traditionally, you'll have billing staff getting the report and then manually typing that into your system, into an SAP system, and then generates the report for you. So with RPA, we use also OCR, which is optical character recognition. So it will get printed information and then automatically feed to the system. So so the human or the billing staff will only process the information that cannot be read by the OCR engine. Now, again, about 80% of the data have been automated. Now, a lot of you might be worried, like, hey, I'm gonna lose my job, right? So, and and the fact is, at least based on our experience, that's not exactly true. No, so the clients that we worked with eventually, got more projects, primarily because they're able to process all these things so much faster than the other counterparts. Now, the fact is, automation is gonna come, right? So I'm sure many of you are like worried, oh no, wala na trabaho, because my job is being automated. But you have to understand that it's gonna come. It's not my fault that I'm automating your job or you're automating your job. Like, yeah, yeah. But it's just going to happen. What you think of it as, you're making yourself more efficient, so that you'll be able to do a lot more things that you have no time of doing. And because if you don't, and other people do, you're gonna lose that job anyway, right? So if we do not automate our workforce, right, because we're scared of automation, and China do, Vietnam, Bangladesh do, they'll just steal away the jobs from us, right? So we have to actually make sure that our workforce remains competitive, remains efficient through the use of automation. And people should prepare to upskill, right? So if you're worried that your work is something that's repetitive, think of your future, right? It might be a time now for you to learn new skills that is not repetitive, because human should be doing things that are more creative and not doing repetitive work. Repetitive work is really designed for machines. That's where machine is good at. Let the machines do that. No? You do more creative, more empathy, talking to people, right? That's where you can give more value. And also, as it says here, it's an assistant for productivity. It's not there to replace people. In fact, if we're more efficient, we'll probably be able to get projects, more work away from other countries that are not automating. And lastly, we have our own tool. That's why I'm very familiar with RPA. It's called Rux. It has a Rux Studio where you'll be able to create your own scripts. It has a Rux agent that runs and executes the scripts, and a Rux monitor to track the productivity of the people. And we have several clients here and in Japan using our tool already. And I'm proud to say that this tool is actually made here in the Philippines, all Filipino engineers, and we are competing with some of the largest companies in terms of process automation. That ends my presentation. I hope you've learned a lot from my talk. And if you want to know more about our tool, feel free to visit tracksuite.com, or I'll be here in the panel later, and feel free to ask your questions later. Thank you.